I'm Mark, and on my channel I talk about UK politics and Brexit from an outside view, although I do know the UK from the inside as well. Panic is spreading among European travellers from Great Britain. Until a few years ago, people from the United Kingdom were part of the EU and were still used to European freedom of movement when travelling. That changed with Brexit. However, the new reality has only become noticeable to many Anglo-Saxon vacationers with a delay. Specifically, it's the Spanish state that is currently bringing many Britons back down to earth. The Iberian border authorities have issued a public appeal to draw attention to a practice that has been neglected for years. Since the official exit from the European Union at the end of 2020, strict guidelines for staying in the EU have been in place. Actually, news about Brexit was already yesterday's news, everybody thought. But decided 8 years ago and sealed more than 4 years ago, Great Britain's exit has long been responsible for an endless stream of unpleasant headlines. Spanish border guards are now writing a new chapter because, according to reports in the British tabloid newspaper Sun, they have neglected their documentation duties for years. The border guards are responsible for checking visas and personal data when entering and leaving the country. Unlike German passengers, Britons now have to present their passports at the airport even for short breaks. Upon entry, British visitors then receive a stamp in their passport. Although a visa is not required for entry for a short stay, passports must still be checked on the return journey to ensure that residence regulations are met. And this should be a matter of some easy thing or whatever you would think. But since Brexit, Britons have been allowed to stay in the Schengen area for a maximum of 90 days, and this maximum applies within a 180-day cycle. Brits who want to stay in the EU for more than a quarter of a year within a 6-month period must therefore apply for a visa, like citizens from the USA, Asia or Africa. While the entry and exit process is not a problem for many nations, complaints are now being made from England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Many holidaymakers in Spain from the British Isles are apparently missing the exit stamp in their passport. These affected are therefore in danger. Through no fault of their own, many Britons could soon be accused of an administrative offence or, in the worst case, even a criminal offence. And the offence is staying without the appropriate residence permit. This could be the case the next time they enter the country. The exit stamp is official proof that the legally prescribed 90 days within the visa-free validity have not been exceeded. If there is no exit stamp, it is suspected that travelers are staying in the EU illegally. To ensure that the sloppiness of Spanish border officials does not result in criminal consequences in the future, the authorities are now urging vigilance, both border guards and travelers. The Foreign Office in the United Kingdom joined the appeal. London warned its citizens about the Spanish, let's say, slackness and urged them to insist on the stamp, and that in their own interest. According to the Spanish police, the airport on the Canary island of Lanzarote was particularly affected. There, masses of English tourists left the country without a stamp. And the local newspaper Diario de Lanzarote cites anonymous sources from the Guardia Civil, according to which the police chief of Lanzarote issued a clear warning to his own staff. The newspaper claims to have learned from anonymous police sources that police officers had previously been asked discreetly and verbally to make entry as easy as possible for British holidaymakers. According to the report, the order could have nothing to do with hospitality. It seems unclear whether the staff at the Cesar Manrique Lanzarote airport can even comply with the request. According to the insider, Diario claims that they know that there is an acute shortage of staff. And last Thursday in particular, the border guards can hardly keep up with the many British passengers on their way home. Freedom of travel to the EU for British nationals has changed fundamentally as a result of Brexit, of course. Previously, a valid passport and unrestricted freedom of movement within the European Union were sufficient, but the new rules have been in place since the UK left the EU. And the valid passport is mandatory for entry into all EU member states. A British passport is generally valid for entry in the EU if it is valid for at least 6 months beyond the planned departure date. This is a common requirement for many countries to ensure that the passport remains valid for the entire stay. And it has to comply with current Brexit rules. It is important that the passport has been issued under the new rules to ensure that it is recognized for entry as a third country citizens. British nationals who renewed their passport before September 2018 may have problems entering the country. This is because the validity period for such extensions has been extended by a maximum of 9 months on the British side. And in some cases, this may result in the passport no longer being valid for the required 6 months beyond the planned departure date. From 2024, so this year, many travelers from third countries, including the UK, who have visa-free entry into the Schengen zone will require an additional travel authorization, the so-called ETIAS. This must be applied for online before traveling, and for longer stays of more than 90 days within a 180-day period, a visa is required in most cases. The exact regulations vary depending on the purpose of the stay and the respective EU country, because that is sovereignty. And violations of the entry regulations can have serious consequences. If you enter the country illegally or exceed the permitted length of stay, you may be ordered to be deported to your home country. And there is a possibility that an entry ban will be imposed for a certain period of time or permanently. And severe fines can be imposed for violations of the residence regulations. British nationals should really find out as much as possible about the current entry regulations of the respective EU country before traveling. The passport, as I said, must be valid for the entire duration of the stay, or 6 months. And if you are planning to stay for a longer period, you should apply for a visa in good time, because that takes time. And adequate travel health insurance is recommended as well. Before Brexit, British citizens with a European Health Insurance Card, or EHIC, could receive medically necessary treatment in most EU countries as if they were insured there. Since Brexit, the EHIC is no longer valid for British citizens. Instead, there is the UK Global Health Insurance Card, or GHIC. In many cases, this card offers similar benefits to the old EHIC, but there are important differences and restrictions. The GHIC is not recognized in all EU and European Economic Area countries. Before you travel, you better find out about recognition in your destination country. The benefits of the GIC may differ from those of the EHIC, and in some cases you may have to make co-payments or pay for certain treatments yourself. The GHIC is not a complete travel insurance policy. It does not cover all medical costs such as repatriation or certain treatments. It is strongly recommended that you take out additional private travel health insurance, and this insurance offers more comprehensive protection and also covers costs not covered by the GHIC. And there you see, Brexit has impact everywhere. And when I read this, what the Sun reported there, I just thought it's not supposed to be offensive, but yeah. The Spanish, they are more relaxed with rules than, for example, we here in Germany are, the stereotypes. And I at least wasn't completely surprised that it happened there. And of course, there might also be the thing that a lot of British are still going on vacation there. And of course, that can happen more often there than in other European countries, for example. But nevertheless, if you want to know more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.